Law enforcement expert and former sheriff's detective. Good morning, James. Thanks so much for joining us. So how heavily do agents' past incidents weigh on law enforcement officers when it comes into incidents like this?
I mean, as it pertains to this topic, Hannah, we've seen a lot of violence. Let me remind you, a few months ago, we had a transport van going to an ICE facility with illegals that had been apprehended. And they had a sniper on the roof that ended up shooting some of those illegals that were being transferred to that facility. I've got to tell you, we've seen ICE agents' vehicles' windows broken out by rocks and bricks. We know the shooting, the shooter, the agent that shot this Miss Good, he in fact was dragged by a car previously and had stitches from that attack. So, the violence is there. It's ramped up. Both sides, both the ICE agents and the protesters, they are out on a mission.
So that incident you're talking about right there, that was in June. The Department of Homeland Security coming out, James, telling us that, yeah, the ICE agent was involved in an incident when they were trying to track down a suspect. That suspect hit the agent, dragged him 50 yards with the vehicle, and he had to be hospitalized as a result of that. Do you think that previous experience could have played into what happened here on Wednesday?
I mean, of course it did. I mean, but here's the deal. Homeland Security has some of the most up-to-date training in terms of using deadly force. Those agents are trained, they continue to train on a quarterly basis. So there's a written policy on when to use deadly force and when not to. It's a matrix, right? I've got to tell you, having been the victim of a missile, a car coming towards you, it's a eye-waking moment, trust me. If you've seen the video, and it happened so quick, Hannah, it was a split-second decision. I do believe the ICE agent was hit, but I think he fired out of self-defense. He did not have, in my opinion, time to step aside and let her go forward. She was going straight at him.
So you believe this agent did follow proper law enforcement protocol in every aspect here?
By all accounts, yes. But here's the deal. If you look at that video, you'll see him, and you can see the reflection. He's holding a cell phone up using that camera. So that means he's using that weapon with one hand. Shame on Homeland Security for not having body-worn cameras for every one of these federal agents. And you've got to agree with me, as much as we see from the opposing ICE folks, you better believe every one of those cops should have body-worn cameras, not only to protect the integrity of what they do, but also the integrity of what they're going to do in terms of arresting these protesters. So, it was kind of a one-handed shot. He's holding the cell phone up. Got to do better than that.
Great point there. I mean, if our local law enforcement, can have the funds to get these body-worn cameras, you'd expect at the federal level as well. James, you did bring up, training. Obviously, these federal agents getting the best training possible out there. De-escalation is one of those areas law enforcement officers continuously train on. So in your experience in law enforcement, what, if anything, could that agent have done differently?
I really and truly don't think he could have done anything differently other than calling in sick and staying home, Hannah. He was out doing, their operation. They're mission driven. They have an operational plan of where they're going to go and target these folks every single day. So it's not like willy-nilly we're going to pick this neighborhood. So everything is pre-planned. You have in that operational plan, you're going to have people that are going to be, if you will, tasked for an outer perimeter. You're going to be looking for bad actors, while the inner perimeter of federal agents go in and actually do hands-on or knock on the doors. So it's a multi-tiered perimeter, if you will. And I just think he stepped out of the vehicle. He could have went around the backside of it, but he chose the path that he chose. And unfortunately, this woman ran over him or hit him. So, short of that, I don't think it could be avoided unless he just didn't come to work that day.
I mean, this is a terrible, incident. No matter which way you look at it, a life was lost here, and none of us are okay with that. But as far as the law enforcement, you do have to take a step back. And in the video that I mentioned earlier, James, I mean, the woman who was with Good was clearly taunting, those agents out there earlier. And it's like they wanted a reaction, obviously not to this extent. But, you yourself, we've spoken, previously, that is one thing that often doesn't get shown. It's, the lead up to things. It's the baiting of officers and law enforcement agents that lead to, unfortunately, tragic incidents like this.
Yeah, but I mean, having someone taunting you and yelling and screaming and spitting, and that doesn't, you don't just go to deadly force, Anna. So that's where the training comes in. I mean, going through training, you're going to be taunted by the trainers, right? You're going to be put in certain situations to where you're about to break, but you can't. You've got to maintain that discipline. Here's the deal. The First Amendment says these folks can go out and yell and scream. They can wave signs. That is their First Amendment right. So I think from all accounts, I've seen ICE pretty much hold their cards close to their vest, and they're not overreacting. And I've got to tell you, being in that position as some of these ICE agents, it's hard sometimes not to react to some of these protesters. But I think they get a B in terms of the mental game, and it's a mental game in terms of reacting to these protesters.
James Copenhaver, our law enforcement expert there with decades in the industry. James, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you, Hannah. Thank you.
All right.